We are known to be a population that consumes a lot in the way that we import. Why people don't want to talk about money, they do attach it to who they are, and it gets somehow getting naked.
So we're here to talk about money today. I thought it was a good topic to start the year. I was just talking to someone earlier and she was asking me what the video will be about today, and I said about money, and she said, oh, it's a good time to talk about money because it's January and no one has any money left. So I thought that that's one of the reasons I wanted to kick off with that subject. But before we get into that, as I told you, I'd like to know a little bit more about the person.
Sure.
Because my guests are, and how I usually select my guests is more about the person rather than the topic. So I'd like to know, for our viewers as well, what professional values drive you in life?
I would say I wasn't really destined to be in the financial side. I started back in school doing from the science side. I moved into the technical side, so I had both the left brain and the right brain wanted to be, let's say, challenged. So I had this insatiable curiosity that I didn't know what I want to do, but I just know I loved everything. So I tried to do like some kind of Venn diagram. Okay, I wanted to do like a pastry chef. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be an engineer, a commercial airline pilot.
Wow.
So I had to do those Venn diagrams and see what are the common side of everything, and there drawing the line between exploit and explore. So I was exploring all these professional avenues. And then what came to be, let's say, the common side was the financial side. So, okay, let's draw the line between explore and exploit. So let's jump into the finance side. So that's where I pursued my studies into banking and finance. And then I was studying in Malaysia. I came back here, started a job in an investment bank. So there I did like 6 years. So it showed me that, okay, you can start from one place. And then I jumped from here and there and learning a lot all about investment banking. And I was loving it. And that's where you get to love more about the job in the field. So then for me, the main value is all about growing, that growth element, and setting no limits in where you can reach. And you don't have to be, I would say, luckily or unluckily, passionate about something from day one. I mean, you have people that the first time they open their eyes, they know they want to be something, and that was their purpose. But you have the other side that they want to try things, they want to experience, they want variety. And that's where I think I belonged. And I try to explore as much as I can, reading through books, experiencing in the field itself. And it's paying for me. So for me, it's all about growing, experiencing, and trying new things, especially in this world. Like everything is so dynamic. So you don't have, let's say, local stand-by on anything. You have to jump on every foot you can, and things are changing so quickly. So you have to have this versatility in a way, adaptability to be able to learn new things, unlearn, relearn. And to me, it's what drives me in that financial professional world.
So throughout your journey so far, your professional journey so far, is there what one thing could you tell us about finance that surprised you? That you didn't expect to find when you started your journey as a layman to where you are now? What surprised you the most about how we view money, how we approach money?
Yeah, that's a good one. What surprised me is, well, the fact that I was, let's say, above emerging it. To me, it was something obvious on the way I manage money. But the fact that when I speak around to people, there was such a gap in the way they manage money. And to me, it was something, why don't you do that? I mean, it's so obvious that you need to be saving or you need to be budgeting in a way. So it gave me in a way, showed me that gap that not everyone is that well versed in the financial side. But on the flip side as well is the way that financial does, I mean, they do complicate the matter in a way, I don't, maybe for lawyers
That
as
you
well,
need them.
that you need them.
Sure.
Like an onion, like they keep on adding layers and layers, and every layer you have to pay an additional fee. So, and it's something really simplistic at the core in itself, but they keep adding layers just to make it, in a way, glamorous, fancy, or worth their time. But in the crux of it, it's really simple. It's just adding and subtracting. Well, I'm let's say, simplifying it a bit too much, but that did surprise me that people don't really have and must have some way, some financial literacy, because everyone in a way gets paid one way or the other and need to manage those funds. But it's just that some live paycheck to paycheck. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but there is no management. And to me, it should have been obvious that it should have been taught in our schools in the way you manage money. No one teaches us how to budget, how to save, how to expend things, invest in itself. There is no investment course in every courses that I've been through my journey. But I don't know if it's changed now, but I doubt so. Yeah. But there is nothing that leads the way on how to manage money, which to me should have been an elementary skill that every child should possess, every teenager should possess.
So let's look at, in terms of what you mentioned about managing money, and I completely agree with you. I don't think in primary or secondary school, maybe it's changed now, I don't know, that we learned about the basics of why it's important to save, for example. So do you think that, because sometimes when you get your first job, you've never earned money in your life, it's the first time you see a paycheck, it seems like a huge amount of money at the time. And before you know it, you spent it all. You want to take your friends out, you want to go clubbing, what have you. And at the end of the month, there's nothing left. But I do think that at the beginning, and I put myself in that basket as well, you think, I'm still young. So I've got my whole life to save.
Wild and free.
Why save now? So do you think someone should start saving as soon as they earn that first paycheck?
Well, it's a way you need to be living as well. So it's all about keeping, let's say the cliche, keeping a balance between living the life and also thinking about the future. Because no one knows what happens to us tomorrow. Sure. And having some financial war chest in a way to back you up could be really helpful in a downtime or in a rainy day. So I think it should start at least from the first month. That's why you need to have, well, I don't blame those people. Like it's the first time, and no one forgets their first time, right? So they want to make it memorable, inviting friends, family, giving gifts. So in a way, yeah, you can be apologized for the first time, but then onwards, it's your responsibility to be saving those amounts. And there is this, let's say, misconception that you need to be wealthy to save. Mm-hmm. You can start with single pennies, but then with time, at least you're not saving a lot, but you're developing the habit, and the habit will be there. And then once you'll be earning more, obviously you'll be able to save more and more. But at least the habit is there. It's already programmed into your lifestyle that without knowing it should be something automated in a way. And it can't be like a chore you do, oh, I need to save. It has to be something automatic. It's like you tax yourself every month. It goes into an account. You don't have sight. Yeah. The less you see it, the less tempted you are. And then you need to check it once a while just to have a look how much it is, but without having this temptation of using it and dilapidating those funds.
Is there a magic formula in terms of percentages? So say I earn 10,000 rupees, obviously, 10,000 rupees a month. Does it depend on the person, or is that some magic formula in terms of this? I spend this percentage and I save this percentage.
Well, I wish there was a magic formula, But let's say you have heuristic, like rule of thumbs, that you have the 50, 30, 20 rule, or you can have like 40, 30, 10, 10, it depends. But at least let's take the 51. 50% should be all for your expenses, your basic expenses, to run your house, your rent, your core expense, at least if you're earning that much. But it depends on the amount you earn. Not everyone could be earning the same amount and they have the same fixed costs.
Sure.
So let's take an average and a young professional, for
Sure,
example.
sure.
So at least 50% should be in everything, your fixed costs, all that you must pay at the end of the month. So it could be your rent, your car lease, your grocery shopping, anything basic to keep you alive in a way to the next month. And then you have 30% that you could put aside for, let's say, like a lifestyle, like a guilt-free kind of spending. If you want to wear nice shoes, nice clothes, upgrade your car.
Go on a trip somewhere.
Yeah, you want a trip, you just put 30% aside, and you have the 20%, you can split in like 10-10. One could be your short-term savings, and one could be long-term savings where you would be investing it. But the first thing that you need to bear in mind is you need to have an emergency fund. An emergency fund, which would be approximately 6 to 12 months of your salary. And that would, let's say in COVID times or on rainy days, if shit hits the fan, you need to have that war chest to keep you without begging or going back to your parents or asking for money here and there. And you have those 6 months, and that time should allow you to get back on your feet.
Right.
But at least you have those 6 months. The 6 months should be the bare minimum. But it's not that easy to save that amount, but that should be your priority. Once you have that emergency fund, then everything goes back to that formula.
I see.
Those 30%, your lifestyle. You don't want to upgrade your car when you don't have an emergency saving, right? That's the responsible way to approach budgeting. So once you have those emergency fund, then you can start putting 30% into your lifestyle, upgrading your lifestyle, 20%. Out of those 20%, let's say 10% you want to invest, and another 10% just for the short term, some cash if you want. If you have any liquidity or like car insurance you need to pay, or you have a car repair. So those are not the emergency one, just in case anything that might pop up, you have access to those funds. But then on the investing side, that's another topic.
Sure.
But then it really depends on your age, your risk profile. You don't want to be like, see, there's one thing I want to draw a line on is investing should be in a way boring. It's not that how we fantasize it when you look at The Wolf of Wall Street or movies like trading. You have 4 screens and you wake up every day and you have to react to every news. That's not investing. And you don't want to take those bets. You don't want to trade and be like a slave to those screens. You want to have some peace of mind and invest on a regular basis. Every month you just put it aside and you have different opportunities, different funds that either locally or internationally, if you want to have access to. It should be something automatic, and you just pay every month, and you don't have to, let's say you buy some shares on the Mauritian Stock Exchange. You don't have to verify the price every day.
Otherwise, you drive yourself crazy. Oh, it's gone down by 10%. Does that mean I've lost money?
And the thing is, finance is a lot of psychology behind. There's a lot of emotion behind, because the way you react to, if you earn, let's say, if you win 10 rupees, the way you react to winning 10 rupees is not the same way you would react if you lose 10 rupees. Sure. So the loss side, that's what we call the loss aversion in finance, is a bias, that a psychological bias that a lot of investors don't have the stomach to actually support.
Wait till things get better.
It takes a toll on you to actually lose that much than actually winning the same amount. So for the same magnitude, you have 2 different reactions. So it's and you see, let's say you buy MCB shares or you buy SCL shares, it's going up, but it's going to go down at some point. So do you want to sell at that point? Do you want to overreact? It's those things that could lead you, in a way, have a wrong picture about investing. So there is that line between investing and trading. You don't want to be trading. You want to be investing slowly every month, because you want to invest for like years. So those down markets wouldn't have an impact
affect you long term.
on a longer term. So on the longer term, you're going to ride that curve.
Sure.
But on the short term, you don't want to overreact. It's going to go down, fine, but it's going to go up again. So you don't have to worry that much about it.
So do you think then, because when you talk about investment, I think that's quite, people are sometimes mystified or scared by the term investment, because as you said, they think losing money or the potential to lose money. So do you think, to sound very colloquial, that cash is trash? In other words, that if I'm not investing that cash, effectively I am losing money, because there's inflation, and I'm not actually, unless I'm earning very, very little in a savings account, I'm not actually making that cash work.
Well, like you said, with inflation, you actually lose money at the end of the year if you look at a holding period of 1 year, if you're sitting on cash. But the thing is, there is no like cookie cutter way to approach investment. Everyone has their own, let's say, dynamics, their own situation, and their own appetite as well. So you want to see, like, let's say you have an emergency fund. You don't want that fund to be invested in stocks, or do you want that fund to be invested in long term? You want them to be readily available. Mm-hmm. So you want them to be mostly in cash or liquid assets, because you want them to be accessible tomorrow. But if you have, let's say, more or less young, you have a long-term horizon, you want it to be invested in equities, or you want to have, let's say, more risky investments, because you have that time. So let's say the market crashes, you have that time to recoup those losses and even earn some money at the end of the period. But the thing is about holding that money and not investing when you can, is that you lose the power of compounding. And compounding is like the eighth wonder of the world. Okay. So tomorrow you have 100 rupees, you'll be earning an interest on it, you'll be earning a return on it, and that return would be back incorporated in that same amount, and you'll be investing another return on that bigger amount. So you have that exponential growth on the longer term, which, let's say you don't invest it, you keep on, let's say, putting money aside, but it increases linearly. So you lose all the upside on the exponential side of the investment that an investment would be bringing.
I see.
So investing, and again, you don't have to be rich to invest. You just have to start with what you can. Start with what you can, create that habit, and then from there, but you have to be consistent about it. It's all about keeping that discipline. Yeah, it's easier, but you need to get starting. And I think the way to do it, it's all about creating systems, creating that kind of automation, so that you don't have to think about it, like standing orders probably, and having direct debits in those fund houses, so that, like insurance company does, you have regular premiums, they already give you direct debits, and every month they already cut that money and invest.
So you forget about it.
You just forget about it.
Like a tax, like you said.
Exactly. Yeah. You are being taxed, but only thing is the tax money is being used on you, for sure. So that's the way you can automate a system in a way that's going to benefit you, without you worrying about how I'm going to do it, what I'm going to split it to. And the thing is, the more you be earning, the more you be saving, if you keep the right proportion about it. So it's all about rebalancing it every year, checking it once a year, like an hour. It wouldn't be costing you that much in terms of time.
So in terms of the young professional, because I think, especially in the sector that we are at, with a lot of young professionals on the market, as we said, earning money for the first time, let's say they come to you and they say, look, cost of living is so expensive, etc. So going by your average formula of 50, 30, 20, does that mean that actually, yes, the cost of living is increasing, but you need to be able to budget for that 50%? The reason why you're not able to save is that you're not budgeting your monthly expenses. So things are at what you consider essential may be nice to have, for example. So is the starting point creating a monthly budget?
Yeah, the starting could be at least you know where the money is going. Because without knowing where your money is going, you won't be able to make kind of plan. And if you don't have, like, the cliche adage, like failing to plan is planning to fail, right? So you have to know where that money is going. And the thing is about doing this exercise, the first time you do it, it might be painful because you're learning a lot about how small expenses at the end of the month could add up in a way, just going out, buying coffee here and there. I'm not saying you shouldn't buy it, but when you do that audit exercise, you see how much are you spending on coffee. And when I'll be asking you at the end of the month, how much are you spending on coffee, you have no clue, right? But then when you do the math at the end of the month, it's okay, that's actually a quite chunkful budget that I'm actually spending on something I had no clue about. And then I'll be like, where is my money going? I'm earning, but nothing is staying. So there is no conscious spending. So you need to be able to know where you're actually spending. And then from there, you see those areas that you spend. And then from there, you could budget, okay, I could cut on these. And I'm not saying that you should live like a hobo or anything. You should be enjoying life, but you should be spending on stuff you like, and then cut costs on things you don't like. Like, if, let's say I'm the kind of car guy, but I'm okay to live in a small house. So I'll be spending a lot on cars, but I wouldn't be changing my curtains every 2 years, right? But it could be different for someone else. So they want to drive a smaller car. As long for those people going from point A to point B, is that what they need? Fair enough. But then they could spend more on trips. They could spend more on the houses, on clothes. But you need to know where those money is going to. And then from that, you could actually budget. Because if you don't know, you won't be able to assess.
Yeah,
So what can be measured could be actually improved. Yeah. So that's, I think, should be the starting point. Know where the money is going.
And I think what I find as well, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I think inherently it's a good thing to have a sort of moving towards a cashless society. But the flip side of it is because we can't physically see the money going, we think there will always be money somewhere. So when you're giving your card, you're not actually feeling the pain of that money, being spent. And I think that's partly related to not realizing just how much money you spend on coffee. I think coffee is a perfect example. I bought a coffee machine recently and I realized, and it was only then that I realized how much I used to spend on coffee every day. There's a great coffee shop downstairs. So yeah, I completely agree with you. But do you find it's a generational issue as well? Because I feel intuitively that our parents and our grandparents had this culture of saving for rainy day or for kids' education, etc. Whereas the newer generation, perhaps even ours, either don't feel the need to save or I don't know. I haven't got to the bottom of that. What do you think?
I mean, you have this concept. I mean, I think the new generation, they want it now, they want it fast, and they want it with a click of a button, right? So, and there is this aspect of being cashless. Everything is on PayPal, credit card, and you don't see that. And there is this psychological aspect of holding fiat money, right? I tried this experience with my sister. She wasn't able to save. So I was like, okay, I'll budget for her. Okay. I'll put her salary in different envelopes. Okay, that would be for her living, the basics, all her expenses would be in that envelope. I'll be writing, okay, that for expenses, that would be for going out, and that would be for, let's say, the lifestyle part if you want to get. And then from there, you actually see by 3 weeks down the line, most of the envelope are actually empty, and you need to wait for the next paycheck. And that's actually living paycheck by paycheck. But if up front, you actually set an envelope without really burdening yourself and not living below your means, you could actually save some part of it. But it's creating that, let's say, physical and mental connection with money and see where it's actually going. And then from there, you know that it's some kind of pain, like you mentioned, to actually pay by cash without just swiping your card. There's no pain. You could do that every day if that card wasn't yours. But the thing is, having that, let's say, consciousness in what you're spending at, it really helps you in actually making future spendings in a more responsible manner. Not saying that you shouldn't be enjoying life, but again, it's all about enjoying what you like in a way that you spend the most of things that you like. But on the flip side of it, you should also be cutting costs on the other things, so that at the end the math actually stands.
Yeah, and also I think that what's also useful about the kind of conversation that we're having as well is not to be ashamed to talk about money in a, you know, not to talk about people's salaries or what have you, but to have healthy conversations about money, even between colleagues and amongst friends, to know how we can help each other save better and, as you said, be more responsible. I think there's this connotation sometimes attached to money as something that is bad or something that must not be aspired to. Whereas I think, well, I just think money is just a form of energy, to be honest. So it shouldn't be stagnant, but at the same time, we shouldn't spend all of it.
Of course.
But there, as you said, there has to be a balance with making this money work for us, rather than us working for the money.
Yeah, for sure. And at the same time, like you mentioned, talking about money, at some time I feel it's just like a taboo. And I think people actually associate self-worth and who they are. And that's why it can be, you have this unconscious kind of comparison. Someone, let's say we were sitting on the same bench at school, and now he is earning so much and I'm earning that much. That's what I think. And thus, I don't want to embarrass myself in a way that, okay, he's actually worth more now, and we were at the same starting point. So I think that's some way contributes to why people don't want to talk about money. They do attach it to who they are, and it gets somehow getting naked, and not everyone is really that comfortable in talking. I mean, talking about your salary, it's such a taboo. I mean, I'm not saying you should be posting in how much you earn, but in a way that some might be more aware on how to better manage if they knew how to help you. But it just, we all have our situation, we all have our issues and our likings, but it could be a way that if you speak about it, there could be some help in just not giving you money, but in the way that you manage it. It could be wrongly managed. I think a lot of people not having the financial literacy think they do it in a good way, but you can think that way when you're earning quite much. Just that you haven't been able to spend it all, but doesn't mean you're actually properly managing your money. So if that was spoken, maybe there could be a way to optimize those allocation in a way. But it still remains a taboo. I don't know about for you, but well, we are in that world, but I'm pretty sure that it would be not that often that you go out there and ask what are the good investments you made.
Yeah, no, you're
It's
right.
not something, I mean, you could be asking where are good sales, or which place having good rebates, but never have I came across what are the good investments you have, what's going on in the stock market. That conversation is not happening in our society at the moment. And we are known to be a population that consumes a lot in the way that we import. The amount of, I mean, shopping malls are mushrooming in Mauritius.
And also, I heard something this weekend that I think I was subconsciously aware of it, but it still surprised me that we even import salt.
Yeah, but even sugar. Even sugar.
And I was like, what? Did you know that, Natasha? Like, that's crazy. I mean, but anyway, that's a separate conversation. But you're right. We are
I think the level of
society.
conversation and the type of conversation that we are having is not that much helping us into shifting into, let's say, a saving economy, and which was back then our ancestors, well, they were thoughtful about the next generation. They were doing, I mean, we can't count the amount of sacrifices they did make for us to live that life we live today. But are we doing the same thing? I doubt so, because on the way that we're actually living the life, because they had a hard life for us to have a good life. But now that we have a good
Are
life,
we wasting it?
I'm not saying that we are wasting it, but are we making a great use of it for the next generation to come together while maintaining a good life at the actual moment? I mean, you need to live now. No one knows what's going to happen tomorrow. You need to live now. But at the same time, what if you leave tomorrow? With what money are you going to live tomorrow? So it's all about, let's say, balancing, finding the right equilibrium between living the life and thinking about the future.
Okay. Last question for you, Nawaz. So you have a youngster who is inspired by this podcast and he has just started working. He can't afford a financial advisor, what have you. And he thinks to himself, so what's my first step? What is the first thing I should do? I want to embark on that journey. And I'm not earning enough to be investing in funds or what have you. What should I do? I know how much I spend on things. I've established my 50-30-20. So what shall I do? Or should I just start with not giving financial advice or anything, but should I just start with a simple savings account and put money there every month and not look at it? And
yeah, that could be, let's say, the easiest way out. You start in a savings fund, but also you have banks, you have insurance companies. They do provide, let's say, funds you could access to at low cost. And then it's all about opening an account with them. And you just fill up the form, they'll do your KYC and stuff. And then you just need to specify, do you want it to be a lump sum, just like investing a chunk, or you want to be investing on a regular basis, like regular premiums, and just invest into that fund, and then they be automatically cutting on your bank account. And it's all about now choosing. I mean, you need to be doing a bit of homework on where you want to invest. But a rule of thumb would be, the younger you are, the more risk you want to take. But again, it's, let's say, a simple approach.
Sure.
But all these insurance companies and banks, they do provide different funds.
Low risk, medium risk.
Yeah,
risk,
low risk, medium. It's what they call different modules. So it's just like you're that kind of guy. You want to be investing, let's say, low risk. We have this fund. You want to have a balanced fund. We have this. You want to have a more risky approach. We have a full equity side. So, and you can change it on a monthly or on a yearly basis. And again, once you start to get the gist of it, and you'll be more interested about knowing more. And that's how the interest gets created. So it's not that hard to start, but again, I won't recommend to start directly on the stock exchange. You don't want to start stock picking. So it requires, that's what we do and that's what we take fees for. But you want to, let's say, start in a passive way. Sure. So go for funds, they're already diversified. Yeah. And then once you get into those banks or insurance, they will be able to guide you based on the products that they have. So that could be like a safe starting point into investing. And then from there, once you learn more about how the business is, you'll be able by yourself to go, okay, I'm a bit more comfortable with that. I want to be investing overseas. I want to be investing in themes. I want to be investing in energy. I want to be investing in ESG. I want to be investing in climate change or different things. But it has to start somewhere. You don't want to get it right up front. I mean, everyone takes a knock. Yeah. But at least you start, you fail forward, you fail fast, but you get back up.
Amazing. Last question. Sorry, I just thought of it now because we were talking about books when we were discussing prior a few weeks ago. What book would you recommend someone read? Obviously not a super complicated, complex book, but a nice and easy book about either habits or investing or money. What do you think?
Well, from my side, I did love The Intelligent Investor from Benjamin Graham. But I think for someone who wants to start and getting to know themselves through money, I think The Psychology of Money.
Oh, I love that book.
Yeah, it really shed lights on ones and see how, and it pushes you to question yourself, how do you deal with money? And then from there, you actually kind of profile yourself in a way that, okay, this is what I'm doing wrong, this is how I approach money, and this is how I want to get better. So I think that book somehow englobes the way that you want to approach your budgeting skills in a way.
Yeah. And also, I think it was a real eye opener for me in terms of, I think, dispelling a lot of misconceptions about money. I think it gave some examples about what age Warren Buffett started saving and how much he was worth at 60 versus how much he was worth in his 80s. And there's a huge gap. So it's like that value of compounding as well, which I think it's very user-friendly as well. I really enjoyed that
and
book.
sad part is they don't teach you at school, so you have to do it yourself. You're responsible at the end of the day on where you end. So I think that book could be, let's say, to jumpstart your journey into investing, into managing in a better way your finances.
Thank you for this
Thank you.
insightful
It was a
conversation.
pleasure having you.